quit a substance, that doesn't mean you're really in recovery.
That's right.
That just means you're not using anymore. That's a great place to start. Some people, what they're looking for is they're just looking for equanimity, quiet in their life.
Yeah, contentment, just
yeah.
stillness. Right, exactly. Welcome to the Shield. So this is a place where we sit down, we talk about how substance use and mental health kind of interacts with all facets of life. And at the same time, we highlight some really awesome things that are happening in Birmingham and beyond. So really excited about our guest today. With me is Heidi Moos, who is the owner and founder of Creative Compass. And as per usual, I don't really know a lot about Heidi. Randy, said, you need to have Heidi on the podcast. So we're all going to find out about her together. And as always, our podcast is sponsored by the amazing folks at the Children's Trust Fund. And we're so incredibly grateful for their sponsorship so that we could do this. So welcome, Heidi.
Hi, Nichole. Good to see you.
So Randy is like, you got to have Heidi on the pod. And in just the brief time that I've got getting to know you, I kind of am teasing it out. What is Creative Compass? Let's start there.
Okay, so Creative Compass is my business where I've got two pathways. One where clients can work with me. I work with people in sobriety or people who are curious about it and trying to figure out. So I'm not a replacement for a recovery program per se, but maybe they're at that next stage and they're trying to figure out, okay, I've got the sobriety, but I want more. And so part of what I help them do is figure out what is that more and how can they build their own like emotional sobriety toolkit? Because when we get over our addiction, whatever that may be, if it's a substance or if it's some other process addiction, behavioral addiction, then like how do I reach that level where I am now self-soothing, appropriately, and how can I live this bigger, better life?
Whoa, so you just said a lot there.
I know.
So let's unpack that. So someone would come to you when they are in recovery or are already sort of in their, as you said, sobriety journey. And they would reach out to you because, as you said, they might want more and they don't know what that more is. And you work alongside or in conjunction with other modalities like a SMART group or an AA or something like that.
Exactly. So it's basically a coaching program. So we come up together. We work together to figure out what their goals are. And it's usually an 8-week program. We can work longer. And I have several prompts that, kind of help people so we can look at values and we can look at whatever goals they have. But sometimes clients come to me and they already know, I need a new job or my marriage ended because of this and I have this creative path I want to follow, but I can't do that. I have to do this real job. And then we just kind of figure out like, okay, how can you meet these goals? How can you level up in the ways that you want to level up?
How did you get here?
How did I get here? Because I've been a seeker my whole life. And
you've been a seeker your whole life. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, people don't usually like sit in the kindergarten classroom on the carpet square and say, when I want to grow up, I want to be a life coach.
Oh, yeah. No. So I was the kid in the classroom that everybody came to with their problems, so I come from a family with addiction.
Okay.
And so I was a caretaker everywhere I went. My whole life I've been a caretaker. And
you the hero?
I was not even the hero.
Oh, okay.
I really was just more of, I didn't save people. I held space.
Wow.
Long before I knew what that meant.
Huh.
And, I was just there. And then if they had information that, didn't make sense, I would just say, well, have you thought about?
Wow.
So I was very good at reflecting early on and I don't know how that happened. It's interesting. One of my so my dad and I, we used to talk about psychology a lot, and his addiction actually was one of the challenges in my life. But when he was there with me, like, we had the best conversations, and I really got to know, like, how, before we even knew about neuroplasticity,
Yeah.
we were having these conversations back in the 80s, about, like, how does the brain work, and can we change? And, are people we were asking these big what if
Big
questions.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
So you are a teacher by trade? Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
so I thought I was going to be a counselor, and I got
Okay.
intimidated by statistics.
Look, statistics, that was a hard class. I when I was getting my master's in public health, that statistics class rocked my world. Yeah.
And it's funny because later I became a data analyst.
Oh,
So I was afraid of the statistics teacher
wow.
at my
Wow.
college, and I was like, okay, I can't be a psychologist because I can't do statistics. And that was that I can't do it mentality that I now like to work with. Also, I have the art lab piece, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, but that's the other part of my Creative Compass business, is just teaching art to people and helping get rid of that, that part of us that says I can't.
Can we talk for a second about how a teacher can make or break a kid, a year, a experience, a subject? Like, teachers, and you know, I love a lot of teachers. I've worked alongside a lot of teachers. I've been a teacher. I mean, this job is the hardest in the world. And just like with any profession, there are good teachers and bad teachers. And a good teacher can change the trajectory of your life, and a bad teacher can change the trajectory of your life.
It's so true.
It is wild.
It is so true. And my lived experience is, like, middle school was so hard for me. And I can still hear in my head, some of the things that teachers said, that either lifted me up and made me feel like I could do it or not.
Right.
And it's interesting because when I was in middle school, I knew that there was a piece missing. I wanted this peer component because I didn't feel like teachers were necessarily trustworthy. And I actually pitched to the principal as I was leaving 8th grade, hey, we need peers helping peers. And when I became a teacher, at first I taught high school and I liked it, but I was too close to their age. I later went
right.
in.
That's hard when, like,
Yeah.
some of the students are taller than you, and you're
Oh my
like,
gosh. I know. And we
Right.
were listening to the same music,
I
watching
know,
the
it's
same
hard.
TV
That's hard.
shows.
That's hard.
Yeah. So then I ended up teaching middle school. And then I was like, okay, I am not here to teach them content first. I am here to teach them how to be comfortable humans.
In their own skin.
Yes. And we ended up having these clubs, and I had this one called the fan club. And the principals and all were like, what is this? I said, they'll know, they'll come. We had one boy sign up because he was baseball. Everybody else, they were the nerds of all nerds.
Yeah.
They were Star Wars, Star Trek, every manga out there.
Oh, sure.
And my club was one of the largest ones with just me as the sponsor, and they all ran around crazy. And they're like, wait, these are the kids that are quiet in our classroom. I said, yes, they have so much to say, and they just need to fit in. They just need their place. And so that was my mission, was to be one of the teachers who saw the human, not the grade, not the output, to see the real potential of the human, of their spirit, not of what they could produce, achieve.
Right.
Because sometimes, some of these kids, they were taking care of their siblings.
Totally.
And they needed food. And if they fell asleep in class, I did not encourage that. But at the same time, sometimes you looked at that kid and you're like, okay, you've turned in all your work
And you're exhausted.
and you're exhausted. And right now, this part is optional. So if you're nodding off, like that's what you need right now. And I'll make sure you're alert to get what you need to get. But right now, that's what you need. So yeah, I loved it.
That's actually why I got out of teaching is
Same. I
Be-
burnt out.
well,
For me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I wasn't in it long enough to get burned out, honestly, like the traditional classroom teaching.
Yeah.
But I just realized that, as a mentor of mine said, there's a whole other side of the report card. And I was really struggling, like having to teach, long division to kiddos who didn't know where their next meal was going to come from.
Right.
Or were trying to, raise their younger brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Some even had jobs.
Some didn't know where they were going to sleep that night.
And like, and then at the same time, so you're dealing with all of those heavy life things. And then also you're in middle school. So your face is exploding. One day you wake up and your pants like no longer fit. They're like shorts because you just like grew overnight, and you're like trying to figure out like who you are and then like who you like and who you're like attracted to, and then like what you're good at, and like raising your hand. And do you want to raise your hand? Like, do you want to be that person that knows the answer, or do you want to not know the answer? And then like it's just so there's just so much. So I love that this is really like where your heart was, because, and then the power of peers. I mean, it's everything, right? I mean, we see that with adults in the movement, nothing about us without us, but then also high schools and middle schools, if you can empower peers, because we're cool, but we're not nearly as cool as like a fellow 10th grader or a fellow 7th grader. I mean, they're real cool. So if they can be teaching or leading or empowering, I mean, that's where it's at.
Oh, yeah. And what's so cool is I actually ended up being able to help create a peer counseling program in high school with a partnership with Bradford. So it was at Homewood High School, and
very cool.
It's still going.
With a Healthy Homewood?
It's the peer
helpers. Yep.
I'm not sure what it looks like.
I think it's still rocking and rolling.
I know. I really want to reach out to them and just find out. So maybe they hear me and say,
yes,
yeah,
Carissa,
because,
if you're listening, connect with Heidi. Yes.
Yes. Because I mean, that was such an exciting opportunity. It's interesting. I went through Bradford's adult treatment program as an intern. I was not in addiction at the time. And it was fascinating. So I was an intern in the education piece at Bradford when they were teaching adolescents.
Because you thought you wanted to be a counselor?
I thought I wanted to be a counselor,
okay.
I knew I was going to, and then I also knew I was going to potentially do education. And so, so I had an internship. They gave me a scholarship from Bradford for my college, and I had this paid internship. It was really amazing and transformative. And it was cool because I was working programs before I even fell into substance use, which, I mean, that's like powerful in a way.
Very powerful.
I was trying to break that generational trauma, that generational, cycle. And I just didn't have all the skills, but I was gravitating towards all the programs that eventually, when I did, I drank socially, and then eventually I was drinking too much and alone, isolating. And that's how I was managing my depression and anxiety, which anybody who's in recovery knows that might work once or twice. And then there's a point when you're like, oh, now I'm just alone. So I ended up finding, my own recovery. So I would have loved to have stayed on just the side of not actually having had the substance use. And now I have it, and I'm so proud of my journey because I was working programs. I was trying to level up, and I was. I mean,
having conversations with your dad and doing all of those things.
Yes.
Before I kind of knew what you were doing.
Yes.
Wow.
And then to see like what's available now through, I mean, like Addiction Prevention Coalition. Prevention, like that wasn't the conversation, decades ago. The conversation was, let's take this loser and fix them.
Right.
And,
That's right.
they have some kind of moral failing. And it's
That's
like,
right.
I mean,
Yeah, we've come a long way, thank goodness.
because I didn't have a moral failing.
Of course you didn't.
And nobody does, but like
Right.
it's just so interesting to see. So it's, it's really powerful, like what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And I
And you,
appreciate your partnership because
yes.
through some grants that you've offered me, I've been able to do Art Lab,
Yes.
which is free and available to anybody in recovery or their families. And it's free to the participants. And I mean, I bring out a spread.
Yeah. So so through one of the grants we have, which is through the Jefferson County Opioid Settlement, we've been able to expand the number of peer support programs that we are a part of, that we can elevate. Obviously, Randy cannot be in 17 places at once,
Right.
although he tries. But so the way that we wrote the grant was to utilize existing connections and create new ones so that we could create this whole little army of people throughout Jefferson County doing the work that goes really nicely with the multiple pathways approach that APC has, right? So that there's no one size fits all. We want people, whether you're sober-ish, thinking about being sober, a friend or a family member of somebody
Yes.
who's, in recovery or in active addiction, we want folks to participate and to feel comfortable. And then we also are expanding the network of peer support specialists, which are those folks who have lived experience, who go through a training and then get credentialed by the Alabama Department of Mental Health. Now, I do not have lived experience in addiction. I have it in the family space, but not in addiction. So I cannot become a peer support specialist, a CRSS. But folks like you can.
And I just
And
did. Thank you
just
so
did.
much.
So we were
Yes.
able to utilize those funds to pay for you and Garland Clark, one of our team members, to do this training. So I want to talk about Art Lab in a second, but I also want to talk about the CRSS. So what does that credential mean to you?
It is really it's kind of what I was trying to get at all those years ago. I mean, like this is, so the peer recovery program I did in high school, like that wasn't certified or credentialed in any
Right,
way.
right.
And, but this is kind of, I feel like it's just like an extension because the whole point of that was we worked with people who had kids that had been in recovery coming back and then needing somebody who could show them the ropes. And here the difference is, I do have the substance use in my background.
Mhm.
And now I'm able to work with other people. And when I first started looking for support groups, there were very few modalities available.
Right.
And there was really an emphasis on one modality.
Mhm.
And if you didn't do that, then you weren't doing recovery right. And what I love about the CRSS is it's like, no, however you find your sobriety
Mhm.
is good. And it really looks at the whole person,
Right.
so not just because you can quit a substance. That doesn't mean you're really in recovery.
That's
That
right.
just means you're not using anymore. That's a great place to start. You don't even have to start there though, which, my journey into recovery was starting before I actually quit drinking.
Mhm.
So even somebody who is still potentially using, they might be in that contemplation stage, that
Right.
pre-contemplation. They
Ooh,
know.
whipping out some stages
I
of
know,
change theory.
right?
Okay.
Right.
All right.
I mean, they may be ready. That maybe they've had 6-7 years of sobriety, but they never worked on
themselves,
their states of their ways of thinking or interacting with people. So behaviorally, they're still in the same
right?
stuck rut, that doesn't feel plentiful to them, because there are some people who live what I would consider boring lives, but they're not stuck. They're very intentional about their living. So we're not looking for now I'm going on the AT, although go do the Appalachian Trail if that's part of your journey, sober or not. But some people, what they're looking for is they're just looking for equanimity, quiet in their life.
Yeah, contentment,
So,
just stillness. Right, exactly.
Yeah. So the peer recovery specialist, what I loved about the training is it gave me a few new words. I was still a little dated on some of my terminology, even though I try to keep up.
I know.
And I'm sure that, I'll look back 10 years from now and go, oh, we could have said that a little better. And now we've got better words for it. Because, there's so much to learn about this field.
Yeah. So now you have the lived experience. Now you have the piece of paper.
Right.
You have this new business.
Yes.
That is, website is live.
Yes.
And you have Art Lab. So talk a little more about Art Lab, because every time Randy comes back from one, or I see pictures, he's like, there were so many people there.
I know.
It's really kind of exploded. So talk about, give us the nuts and bolts for somebody who has no idea what it is.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty humbled about how many people are showing up, but it really just shows the need.
The need.
People want to be creative.
Yeah.
And I'm an artist because I do art every day. I don't sell my art or any of that. Art is part of my recovery journey. It's part of my, how I want to live my life and show up. So every day I create. In fact, over in the corner over there is my journal, and it has art and writing and everything in it. It even has notes for, whatever, but it's one of the many places I do my art. So I was actually part of an online community that had art with sober women, and it closed. And I went to a meeting and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. This was my thing.
Right.
And when I finished that share, I had all these people come up and they said, will you teach art here? I said, but I'm not an artist, teacher, and they're like,
did you teach art?
I don't teach. I teach art now, but I did not teach art.
Oh,
I'm just a creative, self-taught person.
Wow.
What I teach is how to play with some of these tools and then use them for your recovery. So I bring real, I'm very into watercolor. And so one of our sessions was mindful watercoloring.
Oh, I know. I heard all about it. I had so many people texting me this was awesome.
Right.
And by the way, I don't art. And I know you're going to be like, you just haven't tried. Oh no, I have tried. My sister will tell you. I've tried. I don't art. However, I appreciate so much people who do, and people who can look at something and make something beautiful. I love to appreciate art. But after your watercolor class, I heard so many people going I loved this. This is exactly what I needed. It was something that my friends and I could do instead of feeling like I had to go to a brunch and be uncomfortable while they're drinking mimosas. I don't want to do that. I want to hang with my friends and do something different and creative.
And that's what Art Lab is about. It's not actually about the finished product. It is totally about process and community.
Yes.
Because the community piece, in fact, I had this last Art Lab, we did zine making.
My God.
And
Kristen is obsessed with zines. I still don't understand what they are.
We'll talk. That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole other thing. I'm just old, but it's very exciting. People were very stoked about this.
Oh, well, it's an old, it started during the Harlem Renaissance. Oh yeah, zines.
Whoa.
Yeah, because it was alternate publication for people who were marginalized and didn't have a voice. And then the punk rock scene took it in the 70s and 80s, and it's having a resurgence now with young people. So it's a pretty cool medium. So yeah.
Awesome.
So yes, I know. But what I enjoy about Art Lab is we had a zine making. We did watercolor. We've done collage. We've literally just scribbled on paper. So part of it is just getting people to use their hands and some color on paper and just like learn how to like quiet that part. So maybe they were interested in art and the teacher's like, that's no good. That's supposed to be a red flower. Well, I want to paint a purple flower. Well, you come to Art Lab, you paint whatever color flower you want to paint. If you want somebody, to have a green face and black hair and, sparkle eyes, like, yes, go for it.
And it's really not just I want to hit this home because I think it's so important. It's not just for people in recovery or considering recovery. I mean, there's all ages that go to this, and it's become like a family event, right?
Yes. And we do use tools like scissors, and so it's definitely the older side,
like upper elementary and up, right?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say like
we want adults in,
correct,
to have opportunities to talk with other adults. That is a really important element of it as well. It was fun. This last Art Lab, we had one person who came actually two people who came just to socialize. They're like, I don't really want to do the project, but these are my people.
That would be me. Yeah.
And that is totally okay.
Awesome.
Like that's because they're there for exactly, the whole point is community. And again, we're talking about multiple pathways. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't want to go do the brunch and the mimosas. Maybe it's the cost. Maybe it's the mimosas that they don't want to be around. Mm-hmm. We had one group for the watercolor class. One person was in recovery and 4 or 5 of her friends were not.
Right.
And
it was beautiful.
Yeah,
she had a great time.
Yeah.
It's, building community, whether you're in recovery or not, is just so important, right?
It's everything.
We've seen a loss of community since COVID, but I think it kind of started before then, and it's so hard to get people to do anything right now, to come to an event, to, you can offer free childcare, you can offer free food, whatever. And it's still, we'll have people RSVP. Let's say you'll have 100 people RSVP for something.
Right.
You're lucky if 50 show up. So the numbers that you are getting at Art Lab is it's pretty incredible.
It is. And there have been a few times where I'm like, oh no.
Do we have to cap it?
We don't have
enough supplies.
Well, we always have enough supplies, but do we have enough seats? Which is a good thing. And also the other thing is I would rather do a few more Art Labs than have too many people at any one event, because I think part of the beauty is what that art allows is it does allow a little bit more intimacy. And so that, we have like tables with 4 or 5 people, but then you're right next to another table. So you have kind of the mixture of, 20 people, but you also have this one little group and
That's
opportunities
really cool.
to share if you want to or not.
Are there prompts that
Yes.
okay.
Oh yeah. So the whole thing. So we start with a little bit of grounding and breathing, and then I show examples of good and bad versions. And I actually tell people we don't use the word good and bad.
Yeah.
But I show them examples of, ones that anybody would say, yes, hang this on the wall, and other examples of maybe this just stays in the sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is that you come to this with whatever you want. My husband also attends Art Lab. He never follows my prompts exactly. He uses the materials, but I actually encourage that, because if you're playing, if you're having fun, if you're connecting, you're doing Art Lab right.
Right.
So there's not doing art right. It's are you doing this experience right? If you're present and you're here with us, you've done it right.
Ronnie just coughed. I guess, Ronnie, I didn't do a good enough job of including you. I usually break the fourth wall and include him at some point in time. And I guess that's your way of making yourself known, Ronnie.
I was trying to hold on to it. I just could not. I'm sorry.
It's
Ronnie,
all right.
are you, I mean, I'm going to say, are you artistic? But you are artistic because you do video and content. So is it a...
I'm like what Heidi said in terms of like, I don't think I'm artistic, but I am art adjacent. And what's funny is
Well, you have allergies or something going
Yeah,
on.
and
I
it's
didn't even
like-
notice it
yeah,
until just now. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
It's just okay. It's okay. But I thought about my 12-year-old son, who I think is artistic because he can be anywhere, and you get him a pencil and a paper, and he could just,
Wow.
I mean, masterful for 12 years old.
Yeah.
absolutely Masterful. So when I think of artist or art, I think of that. Yeah, I can't do that.
Well, and see, I think that you are a creator, and that's one reason why it's Creative Compass and not art, is because
Creative does sound more
Yes.
open. You could be creative with food. You could be
Exactly.
creative with floral arrangements or whatever, or interior decorating or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can be creative in just the way you spin your words. You
That's
know,
true,
so there, I
right.
mean, there are people who have no visual artistic interest. You know, they're not interested in visually making things gorgeous, but then, you know, they have the art of conversation, or maybe they're not even that talkative, but they know how to connect these people. That's creative
Yeah,
to me.
that's true.
You know,
That's
it's
true.
creative is anything, you know, like if it's, and I think I've yet to meet somebody that's not creative. I mean, I haven't met somebody that doesn't have something. And a lot of
Thank you
times,
for the reframe.
yeah, a lot of it's just a matter of like, is it even your interest? You know, like, you know, so
Yeah.
like I want to push back on your art. Is it because you don't feel good or at it, or you just don't really care? And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I don't like it.
So
Like I just
yeah.
don't. Yeah.
So that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's fine. So, you know,
But I'd much rather like cook or, you know, even, yeah, that's probably it. Organize. I don't know.
yes. No, I know. And
But
see,
like my
yeah.
sister, she's 5 years younger than me, and she was that kid that like, I got a Bob Ross kit when I was younger, like a Bob Ross, like, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. And it sat in a box. And one day she's like 6 and she goes into the room, she opens the box, she comes out like an hour later and the picture's done, you know? Or like I took piano lessons for a long time and I couldn't learn to play anything except for the Top Gun theme song, the da-na-na-na-na. Whereas she like gets my keyboard, is playing around one day, comes out and is playing "Happy Birthday to You, Happy Birthday," and it's like, and it's like we're all just looking at her like, what? Are you a savant or something? But so I think when you like are juxtapositioned with somebody who is that like naturally artistic, you sometimes lean away from being like, you're like, oh, I guess I'm not an artist, but I hear what you're saying and I appreciate it that I'm creative in different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like for me, I'm an overthinker, and I always wanted to play with art. And I call it play on purpose because I don't know that I have the desire to have something completely finished that goes on the wall as like, that's not my end goal. But I love to put some color down on paper. I'm actually really a nerd about color theory, and I love organizing my supplies. And there were,
Oh, you should see my closet.
oh,
Roy G. Biv.
oh,
come
I
on.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes. So like, yeah, I love it.
I'm such a nerd, Ronnie. I don't even care.
Yes. But for years though, I would be like, okay, I want to learn this art. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not as good as these people. The supplies would sit there
Yeah.
and not get used. And then I went one day, I was like, I'm going to use this. And it had dried up. And I was like, oh, And so to me, that's wasted potential. You know, I had that potential to play with that, but because I didn't think I could get a finished result that I would be happy with, I didn't do it. And so now I just literally start putting things down. And occasionally I surprise myself and something looks good. But I like the process of it. It's not performative. It's not for somebody else. It is for me. And it, like, when I get really angry, sometimes, you know, yelling isn't gonna work, or, you know, like, or screaming into a pillow, or
Are you sure?
or well, sometimes it's not.
just kidding. I'm
But sometimes
just kidding.
I can't find my voice that way, right?
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but like sometimes I can't. So, but I can do this thing called I'm going to forget the name. So anyway, it's where you write. It looks like you're writing, but it actually is just scribbles. But
Whoa.
in my head, I'm writing down all the things, but I don't want somebody to read it because I don't want anybody to know that I had those thoughts. But a thought is just a thought, and sometimes we just have to get it out, right?
Right.
And so part of my practice is, so I'll do this, you know, pretend writing, and then do some art over it, and I know what's there. And then I cover it up with something more beautiful. So maybe it was an inelegant thought, or I was working through something, and now I've put some pretty colors on top, and I'm like, oh, wow, I processed that. And that feels good.
Awesome.
But is anybody they're gonna look at it and go, okay, you got some scribbles and some color. Okay. But to me,
But you know what it is.
But I know what it is, and it worked.
And it calmed your thoughts.
And
it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
Really.
a healthy one.
A healthy coping
and my
mechanism.
nervous system is now
Regulated.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
How do people find you if they want to come to Art Lab? Obviously, you know, we post about them on APC's website, but how do they find you?
Yes, so my name is Heidi Moos, and my website is HeidiMoos.com. So yeah, HEIDIMOOS. Sounds like the animal, but there's no E.
And the Art Labs are free.
The art labs are free.
Okay.
I do hope to take that into some other areas. I'm having talks with other communities.
Cool.
And yeah. And
So stay tuned, huh?
Yeah, stay tuned. And I do hope to be teaching. There might be some paid art experiences outside of, you know, that they might be called Art Lab, but there's always going to be clear way for people to come in if money is an issue.
Awesome.
But some of the places that don't offer me free space, you know,
Right, exactly.
I've got to cover.
Yeah, the Moore
So,
Institute is pretty incredible.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Shout out to the Moore Institute and APC and.
Well, we are so grateful to partner with you, and we're just excited about all of the different ways that people can tap in to recovery, mindfulness, being regulated,
Yes.
connection, community, all things that are sort of needed now more than ever.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Children's Trust Fund for sponsoring this podcast. And if you like what you heard, and I know you did, please consider rating, reviewing, or subscribing. We love our subscribers. Please consider rating, reviewing, and subscribing to The Shield. Thank you.